Hey kids, welcome back to my review of FishOnAStick's Bad Weapon Rehabilitation. This is part 2 of the Pyro review, so if you haven't seen part 1 yet, keep watching this video. It doesn't really matter what order you watch it in, if I'm being honest. Actually, what I meant to say is, it does matter which one you watch first, so click on 2 of my videos instead of just 1. Last video we covered the changes to the primary weapons and the base changes to Pyro himself, so today we will be reviewing the secondaries and the melee weapons. First weapon we have changes for is the Detonator, which now deals less self-damage and also deals 33% less afterburn damage over time. This nerf to afterburn damage to me seems completely unnecessary. With a direct hit from the Detonator, you will at most deal 83 damage if you assume you'll get full afterburn. That's not that big of a number. I feel like there's just something about afterburn, the way it makes you slowly watch your health bar drip away, that makes it feel like it's more effective than it actually is. I mean, TF2 does not have any shortage of weapons that do more than 83 damage. That being coupled with the fact the flare gun has literally the slowest firing rate of any gun in the game, I think it's fair to say, just why can't it do 83 damage? The only thing that makes most of the flare guns good is the afterburn, because I'll give you a hint. Pyros don't use the Detonator to do 22 damage every 2 seconds. I do think afterburn is annoying and it's okay to have the flare guns do less afterburn damage, but I think if you do that, you also have to counterbalance it by making them themselves do more damage. Right now, this Detonator does a maximum of 60 damage per shot. That's around the same damage as Spy's revolver. You know, the weapon whose entire point is that it's really bad. The less self-damage is really nice though, because me personally, I don't care how balanced it is, I don't like the fact you do more self-damage than you do damage. Also, TF2 Wiki, what is this flare explosion damage stat that's on this weapon? Where is this third button you can press to not make it detonate, but explode? What is this referring to? The next changes to review are the Manmelters. I forgot this weapon existed. Okay, so the new Manmelter is still not that good. Now the additional 25% faster firing speed and 20% damage bonus seem like they'd be massive changes that would completely radically shift in the way you play with this weapon. But they're not. Doing 36 damage every 1.5 seconds is not that much better than doing 30 damage every 2 seconds. Yes, this does drastically increase its damage per second, but flare guns don't have good damage per second. Even with all these buffs, the Manmelter still has lower damage per second than the Short Circuit by over 2 times. That's like losing a game of chess to a dog. What does dramatically affect the weapon, however, is the 60% less afterburn. The maximum afterburn has now gone from 60 to around 20. This is a really big nerf. The only time the upsides actually come into play is when you have the crits from extinguishing teammates. If you have a Pyro on the other team that just spams Squirt Shot or whatever, this might legitimately be the best flare gun to use. The irony is, in the patch notes they mentioned they wanted to make it less reliant on having an enemy Pyro on the other side, but they actually just made it way more polarized. Now it's way worse if there isn't a Pyro, but way better if there is. The next weapon changed is the Squirt Shot, which also has a 33% reduced afterburn. Now you'd think I'd have a big problem with this, but I don't. Because of the Squirt Shot's broken in the literal sense ability to hit you twice, it's one of the only flare guns that actually does decent upfront damage. So I'm okay with it doing less afterburn damage. I also enjoy the lingering flares. I feel like it just helps differentiate the weapon better. The next weapon we have up is the Reserve Shooter. The only change made to this weapon is it's now 15% more accurate. And to be honest, I don't actually know if this does make a massive difference or I've just been using the panic attack so long it seems like it's way more accurate, but I do really enjoy this change. And speaking of, our next weapon is the panic attack. Now, personally, to me, I didn't really like this weapon. I was a big fan of the old panic attack, but I do feel like this weapon is, technically speaking, better. When compared to the base shotgun, this new panic attack does 24% more damage maximum, and has a secondary ability where it can fire 33% faster. If we do the math completely, the base shotgun has a damage per second of 144, while this new panic attack has a potential damage per second of 244. Which, yeah, that's a pretty big number, actually. In fact, that makes it the second highest DPS in the game. It does more damage than a level 3 sentry or the sticky bomb launcher. Yeah. Now, of course, that sounds ridiculous, but I don't know how possible that maximum damage per second really is, so we'll just have to see what the future holds, I guess. Up next we have the Thermal Thruster, which is a weapon that has a lot of cool and interesting changes. I couldn't use this weapon without my game crashing. Don't get me wrong, this is definitely a me problem. I have never had the strongest PC in the world, and I live kinda far away from the server, but I'm just telling you this because I can't really review this weapon. I'm sorry, I'd love to. The double jump mechanic seems like it would be really fun, but I can't really tell you because I couldn't really use it that well. The next change we have to discuss is the Gas Passer. This weapon now causes explosions which do 15 damage.
Okay.
I mean, it is technically better, I guess. I mean, I get the idea that if you gas more people, collectively they'll take more damage because of the chain effect of the explosions. I just think that's a very rare circumstance that you'll get to gas more than 4 people at once. In which case you'll do 60 damage to all of them, which sounds pretty good, but you could have just, fired a rocket and did 60 damage to them that way. Me personally, I feel like the explosion could do up to like 45 damage. I understand that the MVM version of the Gas Passer is utterly ridiculous. And since this version of the weapon shares the Explode on Ignite ability, they don't want to over-tune it. But TF2 players are not bots. Well, I mean, not anymore anyways. Players don't stand that close to each other generally. Mainly because it's bad. TF2 is the splash damage game. You want to keep at least a decent distance away from your teammates. If we compare this Gas Passer to its most obvious competitors, the Manmelter and the Girardi, both of those weapons are significantly useful in fighting 2 or even just 1 enemy. This weapon is exclusively good against a group of enemies, and I think that really limits its potential. Also, I think it's funny that using this to extinguish your teammates reduces the cooldown by 33%, because, oh man, if only Pyro had some way to extinguish his teammates. Our first melee weapon is the Home Wrecker, which now functions as the Pyro Fists of Steel. Yeah, that's a pretty good change. Am I upset that you still can't run up to a sentry and smash it like we all thought we could do when we first downloaded this game? Yes, but it's a good change anyways. I will be reviewing the next 3 Pyro melees as a group. I'm sorry if you want me to go over all of them individually, but I don't want to do that. They are all similar in the sense that they are Pyro melees where you actually have to use them, which in general does kind of make them worse options than melees you don't have to use actively. That is not to say, however, I don't like these weapons. Weapons can be bad from a balancing standpoint, but be good because they're fun. And I think these weapons fall into those categories. Because you see, these weapons all do very funny things to groups of people, which means they are potentially really funny to use with the thermal thruster. I really wish I could use this weapon without my game crashing. Just blast into a group of enemies, swing your melee, and pray for a crit. Cause you know, sometimes that's what TF2 is all about. The final weapon I have to review is the Hot Hand. Yes, I know, we're really ending with a bang here, aren't we? It always really annoyed me that when this weapon came out, the TF2 team was very transparently saying, well, you know, it's a joke weapon. That means we don't even have to try to make it good at all. And then it wasn't even the worst weapon in the update. This version of the Hot Hand actually goes about and... Wait. Hold on a second, I just realized something. The Gas Passer, the Hot Hand, the Thermal Thruster Taunt. Valve, why were 3 of the last 4 weapons added to the game fart jokes? Okay, this weapon is now a lot better because the second slap, if you hit 2 of them in a row, you'll get a crit. And I think this is good because it rewards skillful play while not being too... You know, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if the Dragon's Fury was originally going to be called the Dragon's Fart or something stupid like that, okay? Another great change to the weapon is that the speed now stacks. Instead of this stupid 2-second movement speed bonus, it'll now stack up to 10 seconds, allowing you to chain into... Okay, seriously, I can't think of a single fart joke pre-Jungle Inferno. And then Jungle Inferno happens, it's the fart joke update. What happened?